Hey, welcome to Scaling with Confidence. I'm Olu Sobanjo, entrepreneur, coach, consultant, and pastor, here to bring you dynamic conversations with high-level individuals who are scaling 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. We believe that every entrepreneur has a unique story and purpose that can inspire others and positively impact the world. And if you are an entrepreneur who's ready to share your journey and insight, visit scalingwithconfidence.com/guest to apply to be a guest on the show. You are going to love this show. You're going to hear real stories from real people who are ready to inspire, challenge, and empower you. We don't just talk business strategy, we dive deep into the personal stories, challenges, and mindset that come with scaling a successful business. So let's go. Hi, Vince. It's such a pleasure to be talking with you today.
Oh my goodness, it's such an honor being here. Seriously, I'm looking forward to this.
One of the exciting reasons why I wanted you to be on this show today is your experience with marketing and all the visibility stuff that you do out there. So I'm super excited that our viewers are going to get a lot from you.
Well, I'm looking forward to this. Any chance for me to talk, I generally am happy. I think I was born pretty much with a microphone in my hand and standing on stage somewhere.
Well, to start us off, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about you and your business?
Sure. Well, yeah, I'm Vince Warnock. I'm all the way from New Zealand here, and I am a visibility coach, but I also do so much more. So, in other words, I help a lot of people to be able to be seen. I help them to become thought leaders in the industry, but I do a lot of that through my other businesses. I run a publishing company, so I help a lot of people to become authors. And I do a lot of work around technology and Web3 to help entrepreneurs kind of step into a new kind of area. So NFTs, metaverse, that kind of stuff as well. Some really, really cool and exciting stuff. But my background has been in marketing. I've been in marketing for, I like to say 20 plus years, but that's just because I really don't want to admit how many the plus actually is. But I've been in marketing for a long, long time, and particularly digital marketing, and even worked on radio for a number of years on one of our top radio stations here as an on-air announcer. But I've always been kind of in and out of both entrepreneurship and corporate life. So I'd create a company in the early days, create a company and fail, then go back to corporate, but then started getting the successes and learning what works and what doesn't with people. And I had just come off the back of selling my largest ever startup, which was Common Ledger. So that was a multi-8-figure exit after around probably 3.5 years of extreme stress and anxiety. It was a incredible journey. But once I came off the back of that, I went and joined the team at Cigna Insurance and became the chief marketing officer there. On paper, I was at Cigna for 5 years, and on paper, that was the dream job. Like, seriously, the pay was ridiculous. The bonuses were insane. You got to work on some amazing projects, got to do some really cutting edge stuff in AI and blockchain. Plus, I had this real amazing team, got to travel the world, got recognition for a lot of the work I was doing. So I got to travel the world speaking on stages and talking at summits and conferences, and even got a slew of awards as well, including being recognized by Adobe as one of the top 50 marketers in the world. Then on top of that, I published my first book when I was there and was starting to get a lot of recognition through the podcast scene and everything. And I remember sitting in my office, and I had this massive office. It was beautiful. I had my Mad Men style whiskey cabinet in the corner. That made me so happy. And I remember sitting there looking out these windows over our harbor and seeing all the cruise ships coming in and looking at them going, I'm going on you next and you next. And then realizing I'm miserable. I was so unhappy with that job. I was so unfulfilled. And it was a really weird feeling because I felt really guilty about that. I'm sitting there going, this is, I'm chief marketing officer in a Fortune 100 company. This is a job that most people would kill for. It's the pinnacle of most marketers' careers. And I'm sitting there with this job going, I don't want this. I'm so unhappy here. And the reason I was unhappy is because I was far removed from what I was called to do. I was far removed from the thing that made me very passionate, which is helping people. And when you're at that level in a Fortune 100 company, pretty much people to you are data points and dollar signs. That's really how it works. So I needed to make the easiest hard decision of my life. I remember November, December 2019, so all pre-pandemic days, turning around to my CEO and saying, that's it, I need to leave. I'm moving on. I want to become a full-time author. I want to write my next book. I know it's going to impact a lot of people. And she thought I was having a breakdown, threatened to get a psychologist in. She's like, do you know how much we pay you? And I'm like, it's not about the money. She goes, yep, I don't quite understand. I'm like, that might be why I'm leaving. So I left there in January of 2020 and decided I was going to be that full-time author. That lasted only a week because when you've got ADHD and you're writing a book full-time, it's not good for your mental health. Trust me on that one. Thought I was going a bit loopy. So one book turned into many, turned into launching the Chasing the Insights podcast, which is my main podcast, and then launching my publishing company, my visibility stuff, my coaching, and now working on a number of social good campaigns around NFTs and different technologies. So that's kind of how I got to where I am now. But the thread that runs through all of that is just a passion for understanding people, understanding how our brains work. I study neuromarketing and neuroscience as a hobby, let alone for my career. I'm fascinated by the way that our brains tick and how we work, and also the other kind of thread that really runs through a lot of this, and certainly made me make some of the decisions I make, is that passion to do good and to impact the world, which is something I won't work with anyone now that doesn't impact the world. So yeah.
Wow, wow. I love your story. And you know the most exciting part of, I mean, it's not even supposed to be the most exciting part for me, but
Yeah.
the fact that you actually you can connect, you can relate with people out there that are having challenges around, what do I do with my life, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And this has been, I mean, it kind of helps that I came from nothing. So my childhood was not an enviable childhood. I grew up in a very impoverished area here in New Zealand. We were surrounded by gangs. We were surrounded by violence. And I had an abusive household that I was in. My father was a drug addict. My mum was an alcoholic. And I grew up in this environment where, you didn't have role models. You didn't have anyone that could speak into your life. You didn't have anyone to look up to. You basically were in survival mode consistently. So it wasn't till I think age 11, where I had a teacher who was just, to this day, one of the most amazing human beings I think I've ever met. And fortunately, before he passed away, I actually got to tell him the impact he had on my life. But I remember he used to challenge me. I was a real cheeky kid. He used to challenge me, and one day we were doing these projects, and I was doing, because you're 11 years old, I was doing one on sharks because I thought that was cool, and I was a boy, and I was like, yeah, sharks, Some of the boys were doing spiders and all this kind of stuff. But he said, oh, don't forget, you got to prep for your oral presentation. And I was like, why are we doing oral presentations? And he goes, well, it'll prepare you for the real world, Vince, for when you get out there. And I'm like, when are we ever going to do oral presentations? Like, I'm in this really poor school. Let's get real. None of us are going to do oral presentations at any point in our life. And he goes, well, how about now? And he pulled me up to the front of the class and called my bluff. Said to the class, Vince is going to talk for 5 minutes, and he's going to talk on what topic, class? Being the creative geniuses that 11-year-olds are, they can only come up with an egg. So I had to speak for 5 minutes on an egg. And it was such a surreal thing. Like, he threw me under the bus there deliberately to show me that you've got to be prepared for these things. But it backfired on me and him because it turned out my brain went into this other mode, and I kept talking and pulling these strings and making people laugh and making them go, and all this. And I was like, this is amazing. Like, I was in my element. And we finally wrapped up the 5 minutes. And I remember I started with, the only thing that popped in my head when I started that was, which came first, the chicken or the egg? And that's all I could think of. I don't remember any of the middle bit. I just remember ending with, so obviously the chicken came first. And somehow that was funny to people. They laughed. And then the teacher turned around to me. He said, oh, that was awesome. And I said, oh, thanks. And he goes, no, listen to me. He said, that was amazing. He said, you've got a gift. Do you realize you could do something really significant with your life? And those words I never, ever thought I would hear. And the feeling that happened immediately inside of me was this intense bubbling feeling. And I didn't know what this was. I was like, well, what is this? What am I feeling? I realized it was hope. It was the fact that I didn't need to be defined by my past. It was the fact that I have a future. I just need to write it. Like, all of these kind of weird feelings and thoughts and everything were bombarding me. And it was such an incredible feeling that it's really driven me through most of my life to A, not be defined by my past, but B, to help others to have that feeling as well. So anytime I come, like, I'm just as human as everyone else. We're all human. It doesn't matter what level you manage to achieve. Every single one of us go through doubts and fears and anxiety and, imposter syndrome, all these kind of things as well. So my goal, though, is to talk about that openly with people to help others realize that they can have a hope as well. So, yeah.
Wow. What an amazing story out there, that from such a young age, and an amazing teacher that helped you out there.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And the first person that told me that they had challenge around doing videos. When we started talking, she said to me, when I was a little child, I thought I was going to be on CNN. I thought I was going to be on TV. Okay. But right now, I freeze whenever I see the camera. Now,
Yeah.
what do you say to someone out there that is like that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The first thing I'd say to you is it's like with anything. So we often have these battles in our head. We have these battles with imposter syndrome, with self-doubt, with that freezing on camera, things like that as well. But often that's because our focus is inward. So if you look at what you're feeling when you're sitting in front of the camera, you're worried about everything you're doing. You're thinking about how you're sitting there, how you're looking at the camera. You're thinking about the words coming out of your mouth. You don't want to make a fool of yourself, all these kind of things. And you're focused on you. And that's quite normal. That's how our brains work. They're trying to protect you. But one of the ways to counter that is to use this concept of focus. And one of the things I teach a lot of people to do this concept called an impact list. And it is literally writing down every single day, writing down people that you impact, writing down who they are, or if if it's someone you stopped and helped someone change their tire by the side of the road, you might not know their name. You just say tire person, and you talk about what their challenge was and how you helped them, what the outcome was. And the reason I get people to write this down is because it helps you to focus on not you but somebody else. And for when you're on video, if you're freezing on video, for example, you've got to stop thinking inwardly and start thinking about the impact you're trying to make on that person there. Start thinking about the person on the other end of that camera. And if it helps you, honestly, in the early days, I used to do little cardboard cutouts of just a random face, and I'd put it next to my camera. So that way I could actually focus on that person rather than focusing inward on me. Because if you understand how our eyes work, you'll kind of get this concept. So when we're looking inward, that's where our focus is. But if we shift our focus to somewhere out there, then anything that is in our immediate vicinity, so all of the insecurities and fears and all these kind of things that we have are now in our peripheral vision, which means we're not focused on it. And a great example of this is my daughter. Now, my daughter was an avid netballer, which if you're not sure what netball is, it's like a basketball game. Where when they catch the ball, they're not allowed to move. They have to stand on the spot and they pass the ball off. It's an incredible game, but it's played by a lot of schoolgirls. It's played outside on concrete, often in the rain or in one case in the hail. They still keep playing. But anyway, these girls are hardcore. But we were playing this game. My daughter was playing, and they were in the semifinals. And she was like, her team were very, very good, and they were up against a very good team as well. It was pretty evenly matched, but my daughter's team had the upper hand. So one of the other players decided that they were getting frustrated by the fact my daughter kept intercepting the ball. So they were going to, instead of play the ball or play the game, they were going to play my daughter. So they kicked the back of her leg. She went down, smacked on the concrete, got up, and she had this massive cut on her knee. Now, I say massive cut. To me, it was like her entire knee was open and bones were exposed everywhere because I'm her dad and I was worried. But in reality, it was just cut and there was a lot of blood coming down. Now, she looked down at that knee and she looked up and she realized there's only a couple of minutes left on the clock. So she tried to put weight on that knee. You could watch what she was doing. She tried to put weight on the leg, realized she couldn't put much weight on it. So she kind of hopped over, intercepted the ball again, passed it off to one of her teammates. And then she kept in the play and she kept focused on the game. Focus on the outcome of what they're trying to do there. Focus on her teammates. Focus on everybody else. Then they actually won by 1 point. Honestly, it was the biggest thriller ever. Like I couldn't write a movie that good. It was amazing. But the moment that full-time whistle went, the ref blew the whistle, my daughter was like, yes, they were all like, cheering and things. And then she looked down, she saw her knee, she saw the gash, she saw the blood coming down. And then she was now focused on the pain that she was feeling. And the tears started flowing and she couldn't walk on it and everything. I had to go and rescue her and carry her off to the sideline. Now, for her, because she had her focus on the game, that was in her periphery, and she managed to lock out even pain in that scenario. So we can do the same thing ourselves. So if you're sitting there on camera and you know you need to show up for somebody else, I would focus on the outcome you have for them rather than all the things that you're thinking about yourself. And the other piece of advice I give you actually is own it. One of the most powerful, like I'm a pretty confident public speaker. I love being on stage. I love being on video to a degree. Sometimes I'm very uncomfortable. It depends on my mood. But I am so envious of a woman that I was coaching one time. She really didn't want to turn up on video. She was petrified to be on video. It made her incredibly uncomfortable. She was very self-conscious about the way she looked. She was very self-conscious about her speaking and things. She didn't like her own voice and all this. Trust me, no one likes your own voice. Try working on radio, by the way, because they used to give you a USB at the end of every day with all of your vocal bits, and you had to go and listen to them and give them feedback. So you had to listen to yourself back over and over. It was
Wow.
horrifying at first. But anyway, this woman went and did this live video. She had about 200 people attending a live video, which is pretty good numbers. And she got up there, she got in front of the camera and she just looked at them all and she said, okay, I'm going to be really upfront with all of you. I'm petrified right now. I hate being in front of camera. I don't enjoy this at all. But I know that what I have to say is important enough that I need to push through for all of you, or I really want you to hear this. Now, two things happened in that moment. Number one, she owned her own feelings around that and therefore could break through those. But the other thing that happened is she made herself incredibly relatable to everybody else there. Because guess what? Most people don't like being on camera. Most people don't like being on video. So she was suddenly amazingly relatable to everybody else there. And even more importantly, they all went, wow, if she is doing this, even though it makes her really, really uncomfortable, then this must be important. So every single person watching that live video, I guarantee, were leaning in at that moment and taking notes. She had such an impact on all of those people. Her sales rate at the end of that live video was incredible because people were like, that for someone who doesn't like being on camera, that was amazing. So that's what I'd say to all of you is don't focus on you, focus on the outcome that you want for the people that you're teaching or the people you're coaching or the people at the other end of that video. But more importantly, own it and just own your own discomfort around that. It makes you so much more human and so much more relatable.
Wow. These are amazing messages right there. I love the story of your daughter, and the fact that she focused on the game, and
Well,
she
you see this
actually
with little
won
babies,
the
by the
game.
way.
What?
Yeah, you see this with babies or toddlers. When toddlers are running around,
Yeah.
they'll fall over and they'll get back up and keep running. That's how a toddler works, right? They're quite, robust little creatures. They run along, they fall over, they bang their knee, they get up and they run away. But if they fall down and you go, oh, are you okay? Then in their head, they go, wait, I shouldn't be okay? Oh, yeah, I just fell over. Oh, yeah, I banged my knee. Oh, yeah, that hurts. And then they start crying. I'm like, it's all about focus. Honestly, the best thing you can do if you're in the habit of tripping up little toddlers, best thing you can do is when they fall down, don't make a fuss about it. Watch, they'll get up and they'll run away. It's perfect. Works every time.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely works all the time.
Although, don't go tripping up toddlers. Is probably the better advice I should give you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so amazing, so amazing. Now, let's just say I'm watching from home and I'm looking at videos. I want to use videos and I'm wondering, how do I actually stand out there to grab attention? Okay, to grab the attention of the audience, people that don't know me, people that are just maybe finding out about me, right?
Yeah.
So someone is out there saying they want to scale with videos. What would you say to them with regards to showing up live confidently?
Cool. Well, two things. One is just do it. Like, seriously, I'm annoyed that Nike kind of owned that saying because it really is powerful. You just need to do it. And the more you do it, the better. In fact, think of it this way. Like my first ever Facebook Live, okay? And I'm an experienced public speaker. I've been on TV many times before. I've run a film academy in my younger days. So I'm not shy around cameras and things. And I know technology. My first ever Facebook Live, I got 15 minutes into it before I noticed all the comments saying that not a single person could hear me because somehow Facebook had defaulted to a mic that I didn't even have plugged in. It was ridiculous. But here's the thing. In the early days of you going live on camera or getting on video, you have a very small audience. So that's where you can cut your teeth and make your mistakes because those small audience are very, very forgiving. And the only way you're going to get better is to do it over and over again. One of my heroes in podcasting is Pat Flynn. If you've had the opportunity to listen to his podcast or see one of his videos, he's an incredibly confident guy. But he showed one of his first ever interviews. And I tell you now, it was so cringeworthy. Like he was umming and ahhing and it sounded like it sounded like he was going through puberty halfway through the actual interview itself. It was crazy. But he shared that to show people that all of us start from, zero and we get better and better. And all these people you see out there that are really good at this, it's just because they did it, right? That's it. They felt the fear. They did it anyway. They turned up and they got better at it. But the other thing I can tell you is one of the best ways to get good on camera is to be vulnerable and to own your vulnerability. Kind of like what that woman did where she said, I'm really uncomfortable about this, but I want to share that with you anyway. So for you sharing stories about things that, like, if you think about how the brain works, like if you understand neuromarketing and neuroscience, the decision parts of our brain break into three areas. There is the neocortex, which is the logical part of the brain. There is the limbic system, which is the emotional part of the brain. And that's where most decisions are made. They're actually made in the limbic system most of the time and then justified through the neocortex with all the logical aspects. But there's a third part of your brain involved in all of this. And this is the reptilian brain. This is the part of the brain that keeps you alive and keeps you safe. So whenever somebody's sitting down watching a video, for example, that reptilian part of the brain is going, should I trust this? Should I trust this person? I'm not sure yet. Is what they're teaching me really good? In fact, I find this with conferences. I'll hear from an amazing speaker, but I'll be sitting there going, is this good advice? I'm not sure yet. But when that person starts off, they don't just jump in there and go, here's my 5 steps to success. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If they start off by going, this is who I am, this is what's important to me, this is why I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you. In other words, they share their own vulnerability. They share part of their heart and who they are. Then my brain goes, this is a person I can relate to. This is a person I can trust. And now I want to pay attention to what they're saying. So by the time they get into the 5 steps, at step 1, I'm already writing down everything as a note. So owning your vulnerability is really important. I'll give you an example of this. I had the opportunity to be on stage with some of my heroes. So this was a conference I spoke at that had Sir Ken Robinson there. If you've never seen Sir Ken Robinson's TED Talk, highly implore that you do it. Like, it is amazing. I was there with him, with Michael T. Jones from Google, and with a guy called Danny Watson, who's another Kiwi, actually, another New Zealander. But all of these people are like legends, and I'm going, there is no way I'm going to be able to compete with Sir Ken Robinson. I learned from watching this guy present to people. So then I was like, okay, well, I'm going on stage. I'm waiting backstage. I've got about 5 minutes left to go. And I get a phone call. I get a phone call from my sister. And my sister is, I've got 5 sisters, or I have 5 sisters. This one had an accident when she was younger, where she thought that she would never be able to have a baby, essentially, right? I won't go into the details, but it was pretty graphic and horrible. And she thought she was never going to be able to have a baby. And I get this phone call 5 minutes before I'm going on stage from my sister telling me she's pregnant. And I'm in tears. I'm standing there backstage just going, oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmingly happy and emotional and sad and all sorts of things. This whole roller coaster of emotions. So I get off the phone with my sister. I go up on stage. I'm blank. I'm looking out at everybody there going, I can't even remember what I'm saying. I was supposed to be teaching them about changes in social media marketing. And I look out at this audience and I'm like, okay. And I said, look, so I just owned my vulnerability. I got up there and said, look, if I look a bit flustered, if I look like I've been crying, it's because I have. I just got a phone call from my sister. I just want to share this with you all. So I gave them a very quick overview of that and just said, look, this is incredibly emotional for me. I'm so happy for my sister. She's someone who has always wanted to be a mum, and now she gets to be a mum. And then while I'm talking to them, all of the stuff came flooding back that I need to talk about. So I said, okay, but thank you for letting me share that with you. Now let's go into what I'm teaching you. I can tell you now, there wasn't a dry eye in there. Everyone felt the story as I shared that story. They felt that vulnerability with me. And then they paid attention to everything I'm saying. And the reason they did that is because the reptilian part of the brain that's going, is this trustworthy or not, suddenly looked at what I was sharing and went, wait a minute. They're sharing something very, very vulnerable, which means this must be a safe space, right? If they're showing vulnerability to me, then I can be trusting of them. So it just opened up this kind of trust area. Basically, the reptilian part of the brain just went, I'm not needed right now. I'm going to go and sit in the corner somewhere in fetal position or go and play tiddlywinks. I don't know what, but I'm not needed right here. So that's one of the best advice I can give you, is to own your vulnerability in there, to actually just be yourself on camera. Don't try and be like somebody else. Just get up there and say, you know what, I'm me. That may not be relevant to some people. Some people might not like my style, but there are a whole pile of people that will, because there's a whole pile of people that like me. So best advice I can ever give you.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I really love that. And, one of the reasons why we're doing this Scale with Video Summit is to be able to build trust, right?
Yes.
Because trust, and I just love your vulnerability that you did on the stage that day, because that story that you shared it's just so real. But I find that a lot of times when, I mean, you want to go live or you want to go on a stage and something just happened, you're not thinking I should share that first.
Oh, yeah. There's a simple rule around that is And look, everyone quotes Oprah, they quote Deepak Chopra, they quote all these different people showing that as coming up with this saying, but it basically means don't share your wounds, share your scars. So for me, when I share vulnerability, there's very much certain things I will share and won't share. I weigh it up going, am I comfortable sharing this? No, then I won't share it. Is this something that's unnecessary to share? If it is, I'm not going to share it. So I teach a whole beats method of like storytelling. So I help people to go, okay, map out your entire life from all these beats. Then you look at these beats and go, every little thing that happened to me, like being bullied at school, for example, or that teacher that I had when I was 11, all these kind of things. I look at that and go, is this something I'm comfortable sharing? Yes, it is. Tick. Okay. Is this something that, like, what did I learn when this happened? Or what shifted or changed in me when this happened? And that'll give you a list of kind of things. Like, for example, with that teacher, I learned that I could have hope. What changed in me? I wasn't going to be defined by my past. I'm also inspired to help other people, etc. So you have all these different kind of things related to that one story. And then you know that when you're sharing that story, A, you're comfortable sharing it, and B, it's relevant for your audience there. So, for example, sharing about Sir Ken Robinson. By the way, there was an outcome of that conference, which is they rate each of the speakers afterwards. And I'm very, very competitive. I love I just want to see that I'm going up the ranks there. And when it came out, the speakers, I was first equal with Sir Ken Robinson. I cried that day. But the reason I got that was because everybody felt that journey with me. And I shared it with them because it was relevant in the moment. And I shared that story with you guys because I'm relaying to you to share vulnerability. Does that make sense? So I wouldn't just get up there and go, hey guys, I stubbed my toe the other day and I broke my little pinky toe. By the way, I did do that. I'm really, really clumsy. And I banged into the table and accidentally broke my little toe. And my son keeps hassling me about it because he's 19 and thinks it's hilarious that his dad keeps getting injured. But that's not relevant for anything, you know. So that's not really something that I would share as a vulnerability. But I would share something that helps you to relate to me and to understand where I'm coming from, and will potentially, and most importantly, help you to break through something as well. So yeah, I
That's
wouldn't recommend you get up there and go, I'm going through counseling at the moment. I'm such a mess and my finances are in turmoil and my relationship's on the brink, or whatever else you're dealing with, you know. Don't share your wounds, share the scars, which are the things that you have has happened to you, and then you've learnt from those, or something as positive has come out of that as well.
I love
Yeah.
this. I really love this. Don't share your wounds, share your scars. I really
Yes.
love that. I really,
Yeah.
wow, we have to do this again. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, wow.
This is the problem talking to you. We could talk for hours. Oh,
I
forget about the
know.
conference. Let's just catch up and yeah. Sorry everyone. Yeah.
So amazing. Yeah. So now I'd like to know, is there anything else that you'd love our viewers to know about
Yeah.
why video is important for them right now, and maybe some
Two
other
things I want to
things?
I want to get across to all of you right now. One is video is really important for a reason. It's important because people relate to people, right? So we all know that we learn in different ways. Like some of us learn from the written word, some of us learn from hearing, some of us learn from doing, some of us learn from seeing. But the key thing here is that we are people relating to other people. So I run my podcast and people can listen to that and they hear my voice and things like that. But when I'm on camera, they see my eyes, they see my expression, they see the way I move my hands, way too much, by the way. Now I'm really self-conscious. But they can see how I interact with you. So you get a sense of that actual person. So there are human elements of us. Like we do this a lot with charities and social good organizations. I do a lot of work helping people optimize their websites, for example. And we've done research on this. If you put an image on there of a beautiful beach, for example, someone will come there, that page itself, you're asking people to give money to a charity, you might get like a 10% conversion rate on that page. Now, if you change that banner from, just a picture of a beach to having people in it, then all of a sudden that 10% may go up to 20% conversion rate, because in us, we know that we're looking, even though we know it's just an image, we feel like there's a person there. We feel like it's more relatable. And also, because we're doing good, we're giving money, we think, I want to be seen to do money. So subconsciously, to give money. So subconsciously, we are, more inclined to give. However, if we change that banner out to be someone who's looking directly at you, then that conversion rate will go up to like 30%. And that's because the way our brain works, we're connecting with that other individual. And video is a really, really powerful way of doing that. So, and then the second thing I just want you to know, which is not so much about the importance of video, but it's about the importance of you. A lot of people, and I find this a lot with my clients when they come to me, they think that they can't be like anybody else. Like they go, why would I turn up on video? My story's not that important. I'm telling you now, your story is incredibly important. I don't care, I don't care how tragic it is or how non-tragic it is. You may have had a simple life. You had amazing parents that loved you immensely. You grew up in a healthy environment, feeling loved, etc. That story is important because there are people out there that will only relate to your story or will get the maximum relation to your story. In other words, I could teach people how to do, let's say, SEO, search engine optimization, right? I'm a giant nerd. I love SEO. I love teaching people SEO. Then there could be Neil Patel, who's an SEO expert, or there could be you, and you're an SEO expert. I'm telling you that we could all teach the exact same thing using the exact same words in a lot of cases, but some people will listen to me and not relate to it at all. They won't understand it. They won't feel the importance of it. They won't connect with it, whereas they will with Neil. And some of them won't with Neil, whereas they will with you, or won't with you and will with me. But the story that you have, the experiences that you've gone through, who you are as a person, your personality, all the things that make you so unique, there are people out there that are just waiting for you to show up and waiting for you to tell your story, waiting for you to share your video and to teach them, because that's going to get them the breakthrough. So I really want people to understand that your story really does matter, and being on video really does matter as well.
Wow. I really love that. That one gave me chills. Your story really matters.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Thank you.
I'll give you so I run the Chasing the Insights podcast. I've got two podcasts at the moment, Chasing the Insights and the NFT Ninjas. But for Chasing the Insights, that was a huge amount of effort for me. I've done 240 something episodes now. I've got about 30 other ones pre-recorded. I do 3 episodes a week. But in the early days of that, it really did conflict with a lot of the effort I had to put into running my group program or my one-to-one coaching or publishing books, all these kind of things. And there was a point there where I was thinking, is this worth it? You know, I'm getting a return on investment. Like I'm getting, positioned as a thought leader in the industry, which was important to me. I'm also generating some leads, which is great. But I almost wanted to pause it or take a break until I got an email from a listener who had heard me interview a good friend of mine on the show, and she shared her story about how she was, she was married, she was working in this corporate environment, she got fired, got a new job, got fired from that. Every single time she got fired, it was just because she was a woman in this place where apparently women should be quiet, should be seen and not heard, kind of thing. So every time that she gave ideas, they would go, ugh, and fire her. And then she got to the point where she went home one day and her husband looked at her, and it turned out he was a very abusive husband. He'd been cheating on her, and he left. And he said, that's it, I'm done, I'm out of here. Next day, she goes to work. She's dealing with, obviously, the aftermath of that. She's sitting there, one of her new bosses, this young male, came up to her and just said, oh, you don't seem yourself, are you okay? And she said, oh, it's okay, I'm just dealing with, a separation from my husband. He's just walked out, so I'm dealing with that, but I'm fine. He goes, oh, woman problems. Oh, that's it. I've had enough, you're fired.
What?
So she left that organization, drove, got to a satellite somewhere and just broke. And she was in tears going, I'm such a failure. I'm such a loser. I'm never going to find love again. I'm never going to be employed again. I've been fired 3 times, for goodness sake. And at that point, she kind of heard, she said, I'm not woo-woo, Vince, but I just kind of heard this internal voice say to me, are you ready to step into being you now? And that was the start of a new journey. And by the way, she's incredibly successful now, just an amazing human being. But by sharing that story, this listener had felt everything that she's feeling. She hadn't gone through the divorce, but she'd gone through being fired. She was a star employee, and she felt like such a failure that it caused trauma in her. She couldn't actually deal with that. And hearing somebody else share that story made her realize, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the only one to go through this, and there is something on the other side of this. There is a breakthrough that can happen. So it really unlocked something in her. I kept in touch with her. She actually signed with me as a client eventually, and has had major breakthroughs. But all of that started with somebody sharing their story with her and her relating to that story. There are people out there that are waiting for you to tell your story. So definitely don't hold back. It's not about you. It's about them, remember?
I say amen to that. Amen to that right there.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Now, I know you have a gift for our viewers.
I do.
Would you
Yes.
want to tell us a little bit about that?
I sure would. I am giving you all a free ebook copy of my 5-word affirmations book. To give you the background on this very quickly, I've known for experimentation. I'm known for trying new things, seeing if they work. If they don't work, rejecting them. If they do work, doubling down on them. And one of my clients one day was telling me about affirmations. I'm like, oh, I don't have time for affirmations. Honestly, there's much more important things I should be doing than standing in front of the mirror going, "You're great, Vince. You can attract money. You're a money magnet." All these kind of things. So I'm like, that's just a bit of woo-woo weirdness. And they turned around, they said, "Well, hang on. You're known for experimentation, and yet here you've made a conclusion without actually trying something." And I went, "Oh, touche." So I thought, right, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to do 30 days of affirmations, so a month of affirmations. I'm going to journal every day what I'm feeling. I'm going to list out a whole pile of affirmations. I'm going to declare them over my life. I'm going to journal how I'm feeling, what shifts, what doesn't, that kind of thing. And I'm going to study the neuroscience of it as well, because I'm a giant nerd. That 30 days has been going on for 2.5 years now, and I still do daily affirmations because they are incredibly powerful. So I wanted to give a gift to all of you. I wrote a book where I talk about the neuroscience behind it, where you can understand how affirmations work, why they're important. And then the bulk of the book is actually the affirmations that I was using, because I noticed I just purely coincidentally, most of my affirmations were 5 words long. And I kind of thought, hey, that's cool. So I rejected all the ones that weren't 5 words and gave you all the 5-word affirmations that I've been declaring over my life. So you've got a book there of affirmations, and you've got an understanding of how it works as well.
Wow, I love that. Thank you so much, Vince. Anytime I hear neuroscience, I get so excited because I'm like, oh my God, tell me more, tell me more,
I love the way the brain works. I'm so fascinated by it, honestly. Yeah.
Me too. I'm so excited about it. And I can't wait to dive into your 5-word affirmation book. I can't wait to dive into it, and I'm sure that for those of you out there, you're going to really love this gift and a lot more from Vince. Vince is a marketing and visibility coach, and I'm sure you're just gonna love hanging out with him. Okay, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add before we wrap it up, Vince.
I think just come and connect with me, everyone. I love meeting. I'm a high extrovert, honestly. Lockdowns and pandemics and things are very difficult on people like me. I know, first world problem, but so come and meet with me. Like, honestly, if you go to chasingtheinsights.com, you've got all the links anyway, but come and connect with me on social. Unless you're a spammer, I don't like spammers, but everyone else, come and connect with me. If you ever need any help, I've always got the option on my website to book some free time with me. You can book a strategy call where I can give you clarity, but just be in my world and let me help you. And yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Awesome. I really appreciate our time together, Vince. And thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge. There's so much, each angle you went through. I'm like, can we take more? Can we go more?
That's the problem with time limits. Honestly, I could talk for hours. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I know. It's okay. We're going to do it again for sure.
Yep.
Awesome. So thank you so much, viewers at home. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm super excited to that you're doing this. And I'm sure, just taking all that Vince has for us for today, you're going to be able to actually scale your business with videos. Thank you so much for listening to Scaling with Confidence. If you'd like to be featured on this show, check us out at scalingwithconfidence.com/cashflow and attend my next live challenge where I'll reveal the 3 secrets to increasing your visibility for more profit. And if you're an entrepreneur that would like to be celebrated for your success and be on this show, please visit scalingwithconfidence.com/guest. Keep shining. The world needs your light.